Hello and welcome back to the bench. Today we're going to be looking at a set of rings. They happen to be the rings that come in the package with the Vortex Triumph. Vortex refers to them as their Hunter 1-inch rings. They are apparently the replacement for what used to be, and you actually can still buy these, are the Hunter Basic 1-inch rings. These were also available in 30mm and in a low, medium, and high bore center. So there was 6 different models of those. Currently, even if you go on Vortex's website, you cannot find these. I suspect that they will eventually be selling them standalone and in different heights and in different diameters. But currently, it appears that the only way to get these rings is to buy them with the scope. And so we're going to take a quick look at them in case you want to know whether or not you're going to need a different pair of rings. If these ones don't look like they're going to be sufficient for your needs, especially given that they have a 1-inch height. If you need more than that, or if you prefer to have less than that, then these may not be the rings that you want. But we're going to start with this one that I've already disassembled and take a look at it. And the machining is pretty good. You will notice, if you can see it, there is some little dings and inconsistencies around the edge of the bore. There's one little spot there where the anodizing has come off. And now these ones have been mounted a couple of times and been torqued twice now, but I took them back off just so that I could do this little review of them. There's some more little nicks there along that edge, and also you can see them there along that side. So the quality control on these is not perfect, but as far as the smoothness and the machining of the base here where the scope would sit, it's pretty good. There is one, let's see if I can get a clean view of it here. Where is it? There it is. So there's one little line here on this side. I can't feel it, but I can see it if I get the light to reflect off of it properly. But other than that, the bore looks pretty clean. I do like the fact that they've broken these edges here so that they're not sharp. And if we look at the scope, which has been mounted and torqued now, we can see that it has left no marks on the tube of the scope. So that's good. And if you go around the ring this way, around this edge, all of these edges appear to have had their sharp edges removed. But then if you go around the scope this way, including on the bore on both sides, the edge is still sharp. It's not super sharp, but it's definitely just squared off. It hasn't actually been beveled or rounded off in any meaningful way. So those edges do still have a pretty squared off edge. Aside from that, the base clamp, which is this piece here, does fit nicely against the body, and it is symmetrical, so you can't get it upside down if you take it apart. And you can just put it back on there, whichever way you choose. It goes on there the same. And then on the base we have our torque spec for our clamp, which is 30 inch-pounds, and then we also have the tube diameter and the center of bore height marked right there on it. And other than that, the anodizing on this thing, except for where this little bit is missing, is reasonably consistent. I haven't found any spots that were thin, with the exception of one of the boreholes, this one, where the anodizing does not appear to have gotten all the way to the bottom. I don't know that I can get that light to shine down there for you guys to see that, but I can tell you that of the 4, that is the only one that appears to have anodizing that doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the threads. The other 3 appear to be good, as does the blind hole where the threads are for the base clamp. I'm going to set that aside and we'll take a closer look at this. You can see that they apply a little bit of blue Loctite. Now, originally it went all the way to the end of the threads, but because I've had this on and off a few times, it's worn that Loctite off. If I were to go permanently reinstall this, I would need to reapply that Loctite. And this screw also functions as your recoil lug, which honestly is not my favorite thing in the world. I would prefer that there be an independent lug, like at the edge or something, but probably for simplicity's sake, they just use this as the recoil lug. It is a steel screw, so I mean it is going to be fairly durable, but these tend to allow a little more play than I enjoy. And then on the inside, where this sits in there, you can see where the screw has already bit into there, but that's because this has been on and off, I think 3 times now, and been torqued 3 times. So that screw head has started to bite into the anodizing there and leave a witness mark on the aluminum. And then I'm going to point out one gripe that I have with this as far as a clamping system, and that is that when you have it partially threaded and loose, this thing has a tendency to want to tilt down and get caught on your rail. So if you're installing this or if you're taking it off, just make an effort to keep that pressed up when you're pulling this off, and it'll come off a little easier. I was struggling with it one day just because it kept tilting down and getting caught. But that is just a small technical gripe. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work right. It's just frustrating when you're fighting with it to get it on and off. It does come with the 4 screws for the cap. It does not come with an extra base screw or any extra cap screws. It did come with a standard little Torx Allen key. These all take T25 Torx. And then on our cap, we see our torque spec again, 18 inch-pounds. And on there, you can see, maybe on a couple of these holes, you can see where those screws have also started to leave a witness mark on the inside of there, because they've been on and off several times as well. And then we see the same situation where the edges of the machining are just not particularly clean going around this way, but then around this radius, all of the edges are broken, and they are not going to mar up your scope, or at least in this case, they have not marred up the scope. And then if we take a quick look at the inner radius of our tube, we're going to see that there are a couple marks here. I can see a couple machine marks that are going across. Again, can't feel them with my finger or with a fingernail, but I can see them. So it's just, you know, little inconsistencies in their machining quality. But for a set of rings that essentially come free as an extra accessory with the scope, you know, how much do you want to complain about that? Because normally a set of rings like this, even any of the other ones that I've reviewed, are going to be in the $20 range. So if we give these the same credit, you're basically saying these are a $20 set of rings coming with a $100 scope, or you have an $80 scope with a $20 set of rings. I'm going to get this put back together a little bit, and we're going to just kind of look at the edge and see how well it lines up, or if there's any, you know, glaring areas where it extends over the side and doesn't line up well. But this one, on both sides, the width is consistent. We're not seeing a bunch of overhang. And then if we look at it this way, the same is true. If I get it centered, then the overhangs are pretty minimal. So the tolerances and the specs are fairly well matched. And the same is true of this one. I'm not going to pull it all apart, but the quality is consistent for both of them. Little dings along these hard edges on the end there, on the radius, on both top and bottom. But overall, a fairly decent set of rings. And what I wanted to do is kind of get a quick comparison. These were the original Hunter rings that you could buy. You'd find these, you know, in your stores everywhere. Wherever Vortex was sold, you could probably find these as well. So we went from this sort of thumb wheel, flathead screwdriver tensioning, and a pair of T15 Torx screws, to 4 T25 Torx screws and a larger clamp with a T25 clamp screw. What we also picked up is a not inconsiderable amount of weight. So the original ones for the low is about 2.4. I think the medium height ones, which would have been like 0.9 of an inch, were something like 2.8 ounces for the pair. So they weren't much heavier. Whereas, let's see, these ones for the pair, you're looking at about twice the weight. We're looking at 4.3 ounces for the pair. So they are considerably heavier, but I mean, that makes sense when you just look at the overall mass. But I do suspect that these ones would hold up to a lot more recoil than these ones, just because you can make sure you get them nice and torqued, and they just have overall a wider clamping area. So they're just going to have a better grip on your scope. But I just want to see those side by side, let you guys see what the upgrade is going to look like from the original Hunter rings to the current Hunter rings. And I think that's about all that I need to cover on here. I'm going to go ahead and get this remounted on the fixture and walk you guys through mounting these and torquing them. And that should be all we need to do today. I'll be right back with you when I get it set up. As you can see, I have us set up here on the fixture. Both rings are still loose, and there is a fair amount of play in those, probably because they will work both on a pick rail and on a weaver style base. With that screw as your recoil lug, it does give you plenty of movement in there. If this was a dedicated scope ring for Picatinny, I would say it's too loose, but given that it's designed to fit on, really any kind of base, I think it's appropriate. I'm gonna go ahead and get these caps put on here. Or wait, don't need to do that yet, gotta get the scope in there. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten these up so they're not playing around. I really don't prefer single screw base clamps, just because I feel like they are not as effective, but we're going to see how this does. We're going to go ahead and put just a little bit of torque on there. There we go. And we will get the torque wrench, which is currently set at 15 inch-pounds. No problems there. I will go ahead and adjust that to 30. You can see 30. We'll go ahead and give that the torque. That one held. That one held, no problems. So I'm going to pop one of these loose and take a look at it. We do not see any sign of aluminum wearing off on that screw, so that's good. One other note is that the clamp is symmetrical, so you don't have to worry about it being on upside down. It'll go on either direction, so just kind of get it started in there and it should be fine. A little torque on there. Break the torque off of this one. Alright, and we'll go one more time, make sure everything is good. I gotta reset that to 15. 1 second. $30. We're good to go. So I will go ahead and get the scope mounted in this and come right back. We'll test the torque on the caps. As you can see, I have the scope mounted in the rings. The rings are just a little bit tight, but they're still nice and smooth. I can move that scope around in there without it feeling like it's binding, which is a testament to the smoothness of the internal radius of that. And one thing we're not going to have to worry about today is the shims, because we can get the blade of our flathead screwdriver in there, which is about 40 thousandths thick at the edge. And we're getting good insertion on all four sides. So we will not have to worry about these caps bottoming out against those bases today. I'll put this away for now. And I do want to level this because I will be leaving it in this set of rings and on this fixture for doing the video for the rest of this scope review. So I need this to actually be level at this point. All right, so that looks good. I have our handy dandy torque driver set to 15 inch-pounds, well 18. And I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of torque on each one of these because they're not tight, they're just snug. And when you're doing this, you want to go around this pattern a couple times. That way you're not indexing the scope when you're tightening down the caps. See how it hasn't moved? If you did all of one side at once, it would rotate the scope as you tighten down the rings. So you want to still use that crisscross pattern even while you're just snugging these up. And then if you want, you just check it again. Still good. Alright, so we'll go one more little bit there. Put maybe 10 inch-pounds on these, just from my calibrated fingers. And then we will go ahead and give it the torque. When I torqued that one actually became quite loose. That one's not. Alright, so everything is tight. The scope is secure. Let's check and see if it moved any on us. If it did, it's just a tiny little fraction of a degree, which we're not worried about. So go ahead and pop a couple of these loose, see if they look okay. Nothing funny feeling about that one. These threads felt good. It's up here where you guys can see more detail. There might be just a tiny little speck of something there, but I'm not worried about that. Otherwise, it looks good. Let's check another one over here. Same story, looks fine. Looking good. The bottom of that hole looks fine. Doesn't look like the screw ate into the anodizing. Just a little bit where that oxidation looks like kind of a bluing on these screws has worn off a little bit. That's pretty normal. Again, the bottom of that hole, let me show you. Bottom of that hole looks good. You can see where the screws set down against it, but that's normal. We'll check one more. Kind of giving these an extra close look because if this is going to be an all-in-one kit that you're supposed to use, you want all your bits and pieces to be consistent and of good quality. That one looks alright too. That one there does appear to be just a spot where the screw bit in just a little bit, so maybe the edge of this screw right there, it's just not quite square, so it dug in a little bit. That's alright. That's really not going to hurt anything. It didn't feel funny when I torqued it or when I broke it loose like it was galling, so we're okay. Go ahead and put a little bit of torque back on these. I'll break these ones loose. I'm retorquing these just a little bit so that that gap that we have stays consistent. But I'm going to break those loose because we're going to start this whole process over again. There we go. Alright, so everything has been broken loose. Nothing felt like it was binding. We didn't hear any like ticks or any other funny noise. So we'll check this one more time. Looks fine. Still at 18 inch. Go ahead and start this process over and get these retorqued. Alright, so here we go. Oh, felt good. That one felt good. That one felt good. Sorry about that. Had a little phlegm. See, now that one, when I torqued this one became a little bit loose. Just make sure none of these moved. Yep, that one had lost a little bit when I torqued this one. That one gave me just maybe another degree or two of rotation. So when you're setting this up, if you're going to be doing it and leaving it, I would definitely put some Loctite on those. I may take these out of here at some point. so I'm not going to Loctite them right now. But definitely go around your pattern twice, make sure nothing has loosened up when you torqued something else. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and give these a pass. They seem to be perfectly adequate. They come with the kit, so you're just going to throw those on your gun, get them torqued down, make sure it's level. You should be good to go. And with that, I would just say thank you. If you have any comments or any questions, go ahead and put them down there in that comment section. If you enjoy this sort of content, maybe think about hitting that subscribe button. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn you guys loose, and I will see you in the next one.